We have much more information about an Everest build now that we have the new target and have seen a strategy guide for this. Hey everyone, Derpy here, and welcome back to another Battle Pirates video. This is my Everest build take 2 because we do have more information. If you watch my first build video, you'll notice I said we didn't know enough to get a build going. Now we do. I still recommend you take it slow, don't coin something, save your tokens if possible, maybe wait to see if we get something in pillage. Kixeye has said that we will get a drip release of new tech, new armors, potentially new specials, new limited weapons, upgrades, and the flagship. All that's going to be coming out over the next several months. I would like an accurate timeline on that, but we don't have that. So I'm going to go with the best stuff that we have available now, and leave a little bit of room for future proofing. Other people do have videos on using the fleet that they coined, build videos, and I have watched several of those to get sort of the best possible information condensed in one small chunk for you. My hope is to have a fairly short, informational, and entertaining video for you. So go ahead and leave a like if that sounds good. Let's get started. I'm first going to go over weapons. You'll notice the weapon slots here that you can have only 4 countermeasures and the rest have to be the weapon. Now really the only choice here is the mortar because the Everest does have a plus 20% mortar range, and the only good mortar is the Icefall mortar, and the potential limited one that will come out at some point later, I'm sure. I'm going to throw this on 7 of the slots here. You have to throw it on at 6 for sure, and the other 3 I'm going to use for countermeasures, although you could go for a more countermeasure heavy build. As far as countermeasures, sprints will not work whatsoever. Do not put sprints on your hull. They will not work. I'm going to go for 1 Missile Defense System 3 on all 4 ships, just because I think that's going to be pretty useful countering some of the Vulture missiles, etc. that are in these targets. I'm also going to put on 2 Gales, and I have seen some people running 16 Gales across the entire fleet. I'm not sure how necessary that is, but I have done some testing with antis that I will talk about in terms of projectile speed and the specials. If you just leave projectile speed as it is without buffing it, you will suffer. You need to increase projectile speed by approximately plus 100, plus 110%, and there are a few different ways to do that. The first is just sticking on high velocity rounds and calling it done. That will solve your issue. The problem is that if you go for high velocity rounds, which you can do, you will lose on a lot of building damage comparing that to the K2 Bombardment Special, because those two things do not stack, so you can't put on both high velocity rounds and the K2. So you have to choose which one. There are other ways to go for projectile speed, which I plan to do so I can use the K2 Bombardment System. This is the engine. Now for the engine, I'm going to search movement speed. You have a few options. There's several that people are talking about and one that people aren't. The first option here is Strike System 5. This gives decent combat speed, low turn speed, but gives a great projectile speed bonus and gives no evade. The second option here is the Speed System 6. This gives evade, decent combat speed, great turn speed, but no other benefits. You could also use in the limited section one of the sync drives, which are really cheaper in the Forsaken mission, which gives a tiny bit of evade, as well as explosive survival and also some combat speed, turn speed. These are okay options. Another option includes the RFX engine. This thing gives explosive reload as well as combat speed, but that combat speed is really low. And if you're sure you want a really fast ship, you could go for Magnus Drive 3, which I wouldn't recommend because it doesn't have turn speed. I plan, because I'm going for a build that will use the K2 Bombardment System, I plan to use Strike System 5. This will not stack with high velocity rounds. If you are going high velocity rounds, I would consider the sync drive or the RFX engine. The next special I'm going to go for is the building damage one I'm talking about. This is the K2 Bombardment System plus 200% building damage, which is huge. The difference between 200% and the 165% that you get with Siege Targeting 4 is massive, much bigger than it actually seems like. If you don't go for this one, you should probably go for high velocity rounds to get projectile speed. Now, one special that everyone is going to have on their hull is going to be the Explosive Battery. If you don't have this, you can use the Unlimited Garrison Battery or the Siege Battery. Explosive Battery is great in the Forsaken mission, I believe. Go ahead and get that. Now these last 3 specials, I'm going to try to do everything possible to boost countermeasures, because if I just go with this right now, the countermeasures will be weak and ineffective against pretty much everything in these targets. So what I'm going to do first is a countermeasure specific special. The one that I'm going to go for is Countermeasure Loaders 4, although there are other options. I'm choosing Countermeasure Loaders 4 because it gives me some mortar reload and is overall a good anti-special. The Gala defense system is okay, the survival is not great, but the rocket reload 40% doesn't apply to mortars, which is why I'm going for the countermeasure loaders 4. Although if you want survival for some reason, you could go with Gala, although when we get the new armors, fully armored fleet won't really matter. You could also go for the limited one, the Hydroatomizer nozzle, and this does have slightly better mortar accuracy, and that's about it, anti-mortar accuracy. I plan to go for the countermeasure loaders 4 special, and I put one of that on my fleet already. Now remember me talking about projectile speed. You can see it's only at 70%, and that needs to be higher in order for projectiles to fire. If you went with the high velocity rounds, you could be okay at this point. You would have like 120 projectile speed. I don't, so these last two specials need to boost projectile speed. One of them is actually a really great one that is going to boost a variety of different things, and I'm going to go for the Combustion System 2. This is a very old special, and what I like about this is increasing splash as well as spread, so you can hit a larger area and splash kill things. If you remember what we used to do with the Dreadnought X, you can hit the oil rigs in the channel and splash the turrets 50 range away. Something like this is the plan I'm going to go for. If you want another special, you could obviously choose something like Combustion System 1 is even decent. That doesn't have the extra spread and the splash is way lower. And Explosive System 4 is pretty good. More projectile speed with more focused fire. I like the spread out stuff personally myself, at least based on the target that we have seen, the one Forsaken mission target so far. Other options for this spot do include something that doesn't change the spread, such as Viscosity Regulator, or if you want more narrow fire, you can go with narrow firing aperture. You could also go for subaquatic propellant to boost more countermeasure stuff, which also boosts projectile speed if you really wanted to. But in this spot, I plan to go for Combustion System 2. Now, this is something that is the last slot of something that you have some choice on. If you went with high velocity rounds, you can go with something to increase your splash dramatically, like Viscosity Regulator, narrow firing aperture in this last slot. Now, I don't have enough projectile speed on my build still, so I'm going to go for a special that I haven't always been the biggest fan of, and that is high velocity rounds. Why high velocity rounds? Well, because if you look at the special here, it gives splash damage reduction, which does nothing. That 540 number is so small, but the plus 30% projectile speed is great and is why I'm using it. Evade is also fairly nice against some of the missiles in this target, not all of them, just some of them, so I'm going to go for this one. This is the build I plan to go for, and I believe this is sort of similar to other people's builds, say Ren, although he is using a different engine, and if you do use this different engine, you, I believe, need to go for the high velocity rounds instead of the K2. Your projectile speed will simply not be high enough. I have tested this build. I have one ship built out completely like this, and I tested it in a level 160 target. The anti-missile was shooting at everything, and the anti-mortars were shooting at almost everything. The projectile speed does need to be about 10% higher to shoot at everything, but it was really, really close and should be enough, especially if you have 10 or 4 of them across the entire fleet. It will probably be enough. I do hope that when the upgrades come out, or maybe we get a new special that increases projectile speed by just a little bit more, or the flag is, say, plus 20% projectile speed on the bonus, but this build is going to be good enough for me for now. Just a few quick notes here. The armors I have left completely blank. I have done the math, and if you were load up the armor here with the F2XM armor, which is I chose because it was unlimited, and it's basically as good as the limited version. The F2XM armor here adds 2,000 of each survival. Or you could go for the limited ones that we have from TLCs, the Tides of March, maybe Forsaken Mission, the 5,000 explosive, 5,000 penetrative survival. It doesn't really matter, I just chose the unlimited one. I did the math, and your repair time should drop by about 33%, by about 1/3 if you go for that sort of thing. So if with my build you take 60 minutes damage on a target, you would take about 40 minutes damage on a target using armor. I plan for now to leave this blank until I have all that building done, and even though you have basically zero survival on the fleet right now, you have a lot more than you think because of this special ability. So I'm planning on leaving it unarmored. At the end of the month, if I have everything built out and I have room for armor, I have time to build more armor, I will do that and use the XM1 armor or use the limited armor, this one right here, the Z1X or the Z1M, or the unlimited folded ferrite F2 XM armor. It doesn't really matter which one. They're both okay. And I have tested this build in a couple in the target so far, the 160 that we do have, and it is going okay. I only have one ship built like this. The others are missing all the specials except the engine and only have 6 mortars, no other countermeasures on there. I will be slow building my fleet the entire month, ignoring mutineer upgrades completely. I'm going to leave my fleet how it was, except for whatever tokens we get from the TLC. Other people do have builds. Some of them are similar to this, some of them aren't. If you do have questions, go ahead and let me know. And as always, this is us working, trying to have the best build against Kixeye, against their targets, sort of an exercise in PvE design, rather, and building things. Other people do different variations, and that's what I like about this special, these specials that you can use, this ship. There's a variety of things that you can do and have success. But baseline is try to increase your building damage by a lot, have anti-missiles, anti-mortars that actually do something, no sprints, and increase your projectile speed to about 100, 120, 140% if you can. So I hope this video helped. If it did, as I said, leave a like. And as always, this is Derpy signing out, helping you be a better pirate.